And we are live.
Yay!
Good evening, everyone. I am here with the great Dr. Lisa Maria Lee. I am Dr. Joseph J. Burt Miller Jr., and together we're bringing you Docs and Docs. We're two doctors bringing you the latest on cybersecurity news, the latest hacks, incidents, what have you, and we're giving our insight from both a cybersecurity and HR perspective. So, Dr. Lisa, it's been a little while. How you been?
I'm good, Dr. Joseph. I'm good. Yay! I'm good. I'm glad to be back. How are you doing?
Doing great. Great. I have to admit, I feel a little rusty at the controls. It's been a little while, but I'll be okay. I'm good. I'm looking forward to getting to our sixth episode. We're in six. We're six deep now. And this one is concerning the FBI. Um, so let's get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring this up. There we go. Okay. Oops. All right. All right. So, FBI.
Mm-hmm.
So, the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating a contained and isolated incident on its network. CNN first reported this story on Friday, 17 February 2023. The incident is believed to have involved an FBI computer system utilized in child sexual exploitation investigations. And a quote from the FBI. So the FBI is aware of the incident and is working to gain additional information. The Bureau said in a statement to CNN, this is an isolated incident that has been contained. As this is an ongoing investigation, the FBI does not have further comment to provide at this time. So I'll just take a little break there. So as I, pretty much suspected, come from the FBI, one of the intelligence agencies, they're not going to really you know, talk
Mm-hmm.
about it too much or reveal too much information. As I was doing my research on this, it's not much. At least that's been released for the public. I'm sure there's more internal news going on, but but I don't know. It does it, not exactly. Maybe some people may feel surprised by it, or um, I mean, the White House has been hacked, and I think that's
Yeah.
partly the highest of the high to get hacked. So um, I think the main thing now is just how much was discovered or compromised, what was compromised, and how long they've been in the systems before they were able to contain everything. So I think that's kind of the mindset, at least from me. That's kind of where my mind goes when it comes to things like this, like how much was affected. Because
Yeah.
I think at this point we're just kind of expecting it to happen, you know, but we just want to know how severe it is. Um, no matter.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm agreeing. Go ahead, Dr.
Oh
Joseph.
no, no. So yeah, so it's you know we talk about implementing cybersecurity best practices and things like two-factor authentication and practicing least privilege and things like that. We don't know exactly um, if a lot of those best practices were exercised during this, or if there was some sort of a lapse in security when it comes to that. If there was some sort of vulnerability that was exploited on the FBI side. Um, and I think that could be part of it too, as to why they not revealing too much more about it. Just kind of, I think they're being very tight-lipped about it as far as what kind of giving like the surface level of what happened. Yes, we were hacked, but we're not going to give you much more details than that. We got it from here, type of deal. So yeah, maybe some time will go by. Maybe we'll learn more. Maybe we won't. Given the organization that it is, I'm not really expecting much out of them. What are your thoughts?
Oh Lord. Okay, my thoughts. First off, this whole breach, I guess we can call it that. It's
Yes.
focusing on child sexual exploitation. We'll use the big term. We know what it means, sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So when they just say child sex, I'm not really thinking just that demographic, because my knowledge and understanding of the trafficking industry, it's almost $1 trillion industry. It's an industry that mainly affects Black women, and then you go lower, then it deals into, when we speak of children, it's affecting mainly children in poverty or in the social services system. I don't know why the dog is barking.
Hey, wants to be part of the episode. That's great.
Yeah. And so when I think of that, we all know when it comes to systems like that, issues like that, it's usually something that's internal, to keep it going and keep it flowing. And as we've been learning, even when we look over across the pond at Prince Andrew, he's technically internal, and he was linked to situations like that, even though he decided to just pay the woman out and all of that. Outside of that, there's no higher than the prince, right? There's higher than the prince. Well, usually when I hear situations like this, my first thought is it's something internal. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And when we're speaking internal, this is, obviously this has been something that's been going on since obviously the beginning of time. It's always been an issue when it comes to exploitation, especially the exploitation of women, and it's something that's been ingrained in the laws and the structure of this country. So it's definitely something that's internal, which is scary,
Do you think? I mean, given like everything that FBI databases hold,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it was kind of targeted as to why they went for I guess the computer system or database that focused or housed sexual exploitation investigations? I don't know. It just feels a little targeted. I mean, they could have went to any other
There's a
more
reason.
damaging, aspects of the
Yeah.
FBI.
So much information that is not known, that we always look to for the answer to, whether
Yeah.
it's a conspiracy theory or just knowing more about whatever crime that has happened and why those crimes have never been solved, and have they been solved and they've just not taken certain action, So definitely I feel that it is something that is targeted, and targeted for a specific reason. Why? Is there something that's leading to taking someone down that may know something that could disseminate the whole process? What is it? Is there someone, something interfering with the billions of dollars that can come from it? So it's definitely a reason behind it. And like you said earlier, it's not shocking. And if it was something that was external, I feel that they would have mentioned or led it to say something like that. I feel like the wording would have been a little different to kind of lead it away from the FBI. I mean, it's very vague when you read the article. It's very vague. When it's vague, there's a reason for that vagueness. There's more that they know that they're not saying. And when it's more that it's something that's linked to an organization. And that's scary. That's creepy, but not shocking as well. And the FBI, it's had its issues with cybersecurity attacks. From the one article that you sent me in Discord, I forget which was talking about the hacking of Infograd, the database that they have. And I remember reading it, and it was saying, that I guess this platform, it's used to train higher ups, I guess I'm going to say like the 1 and 2%, the people that spearhead and help this country to remain in order, whether they are in charge of finance industry, people in charge of energy, people in charge of just anything that makes decisions in this country, nuclear, all of that. And whoever hacked into it, they got their names, their email addresses, their employment detail, the industry they worked in, even down to their social media, right?
Right.
So, and this was, I don't know, like December, I guess, when they found out they were selling this information. I think it said in December for like just 50 grand. I find it interesting when people are only selling stuff for 50 grand. When I hear that, that lets me know that these are kids or someone that's
Yeah.
pretty young. Because I know if I'm out here hacking, I'm not going for no 50 grand. I'm going for the millions, but that's just me. I'm not telling anyone how to hack and, put a
Right.
price on their hard work. I'm just saying that kind of lets me know that these people kind of are younger, more not as mature, I would say, as
Right.
older individuals. So that in itself, I think, is interesting to me. When I see that, it makes me wonder, okay, are these people, how old are these people, or is it really not for money, it's for something else? So it's very interesting. But outside of that, they're stealing these people information and they were getting into the system, easily. So these are people that have power in our country. They make decisions when it comes to how we live, how prices are set, and their information is becoming compromised through a system that's supposed to be training them how to not become compromised. So I just find that interesting. That's just crazy to me. It's,
Well,
it's very crazy.
and one thing we learned, as of late, when we hear like these big organizations or institutions being hacked or compromised, a lot of them they're not exercising even sometimes the most simplest forms of cybersecurity on their systems, which
Mhm.
is astonishing. So if something like this was the case, again, we don't know because not much is really coming out. But if that is the case, where let's say the FBI was not, following just even like the most baseline security measures for their systems, that'd be pretty embarrassing. For
Yes.
I don't think they would just come out and admit that. Um, so I mean, so that's something you can't. I'd say you can't rule out. Because
Mhm.
if they're making it easy for someone to hack, that's part of the problem too. Another thing I'm thinking of as well, as we kind of on this subject about the child exploitation, is that it could be like a hacktivist, or active hacktivism, where that's just like the cybersecurity hacker version of activism. You
Okay.
just
Mhm.
you're hacking like government agencies because you don't someone doesn't believe in big government or what have you. So
Yeah,
I think a great
big
example of
government
that,
is a target right now. I mean, so that
mhm,
makes a lot of sense. Big government is a target. Those that work in government are a target, sadly. Be safe. Everyone that has government jobs, you are a target right now. Just
yeah, no, no, absolutely. um those watching, a great example of that, if you ever watch oh, Mr. Robot. That's a perfect example of that. Great show, by the way. But no, I think that's another, maybe that's another scenario to not rule out as well. So
mhm.
whether it's security on the FBI system that they're following it, basic or even more sophisticated cybersecurity measures, and then also, you know, given that this was the system that it was protecting or housing the data that it was housing for
Mhm.
child exploitation investigations. Yeah, it could be an act of hacktivism, like someone who is trying to expose or maybe something shady going on. Again, this is all speculation, nothing confirmed. So just these are just some of the things that come to mind.
Mhm.
um all right, and to
Let me
I'll
check
just
the
finish
chat.
this.
Mhm. It's some responses in the chat.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Mhm.
What do we have? You want?
Check it out, Dr. Joseph.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. All right, I got Tim killed up. Hello, sir. Robert Lewis. Hello. All right, Geraldine or Geraldine. I hope I'm not jacking up your name. I apologize in advance. Okay, 50K can be a lot of money for some people. Hacking is not about money; it is more about the motive behind it.
Mhm.
Where they hack by people here, it may show that it was from and can be someone in another country where 50K is a lot of money.
Very true.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. When you brought that up about about as far as the value or how much money it was,
Mhm.
if it was like, so let's say it was like a nation state actor carrying it out,
Mhm.
yeah, so we could be talking about whether it was Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, where of course, not, we're not talking about 50K, straight in the states, but like
Mhm.
that money transferring over for some of these other
Yeah.
countries where it's worth a
The
lot
dollar
more.
value is definitely more. Mhm.
Right. So yeah. So it could be nation state actors
Mhm.
that could be involved, or they may not be. They may not be sponsored
Mhm.
by nation states. It just could be, um, let's just say like someone from Russia, hacking into the system, but
Yes.
they're not sponsored by Russia. So, but getting that type of money is still a lot, for them in
Mhm.
their country. So that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good point. Also, if it was more political, they'd be more leaning towards something else outside of monetary gain or just
Mhm.
even a monetary value. It's something to think about as well. It'd be more on a political, some sort of type change or bill or freedom from somebody in jail, something along those lines. Uh, Not taking certain actions, different
Right.
things like that. So it's very interesting. I agree and concur with that.
Yes. Tim, he says he's considering a government contract but overseas.
Hmm.
Okay. Gary says hello. Hello, Gary.
Okay.
Um, Tim again. He heard the servers and software are older in government.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, because and I've bounced around a lot of different agencies, and I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but yeah, it's I expected more. I expected more. Um, I guess better, more up to date systems, but historically, government systems have been a little bit behind the trend.
Hmm.
Um, Especially as I've seen like within like military or let's say like military installations or bases.
Yeah, I
A lot
agree.
of software is really behind as to what is currently out there, but the part of the reasoning for that too is that there's a lot of I guess checks and balances that goes in, like to get a whole let's say for a base, for example, to get a whole base like up to date, um let's say Windows 11, just throw an example, to get like the latest and greatest that's out there. There's a lot that goes into it. We can't just go ahead and just install the latest version. There's a lot of checks, a lot of modifications according to the specific network, especially if you're talking about, let's say, and each government agency is going to be different,
Mhm.
like let's say if you're looking at the Veterans Affairs Network, and
Yep.
then maybe DHS, it's going to be two different things. So the version, so it's going to be a stripped down, maybe manipulated version of, let's say, Windows 11 on the government network, depending on the agency and the needs of the agency.
Mhm.
So and also try to keep up to date. I think, of course, that's money is always a factor. So you
Yeah.
can't rule that out. So a lot of times some of these systems are lasting longer because they're trying to keep costs down.
Hmm.
So that is a factor as well.
Yeah, very true. Funding is different every year.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll just finish up this last bit here. So, yeah, as we talk about like um, previous incidents, hacking history. So the Bureau experienced a notable cyber intrusion in November 2021 as its email servers were hacked to distribute spam emails impersonating FBI warnings, sophisticated chain attack. So with this hack, the threat actors sent tens of thousands of such spam messages repeatedly from EAMS, EIMS at ic.fbi.gov. And that's a legitimate email address linked to the FBI's law enforcement enterprise portal or LEAP. And I quote, the FBI is aware of a software misconfiguration that temporarily allowed an actor to leverage the law enforcement enterprise portal to send fake emails. LEAP is FBI IT infrastructure used to communicate with our state and local law enforcement partners. The FBI said at the time. While the illegitimate email originated from an FBI operated server, that server was dedicated to pushing notifications for Leap and was not part of the FBI's corporate email service. No actor was able to access or compromise any data or PII on FBI's work. And, well,
I don't believe that.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm playing along. I always find that amusing whenever anyone's like, we had like a agency we had this big tremendous hack. Oh, nothing was touched. Your data's cool. What?
How do we know that? Well, there's a reason that they came in. There's a reason that they hacked in and they're snooping around. They just came in to snoop and left.
Because believe me, like people who are taking that risk to even hack, especially some of these big agencies, they're not just going just to look around. They're going into with a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it
has a purpose.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the script now to try to
calm fears.
I guess right, but we know better. Come on, we know. So yeah, I think when it does come to that, especially if it's if there's a system that directly affects you or an account that you have. I think as we spoke last time about the T-Mobile hack. Yes. I mean, just do your checks, check your accounts, change your passwords, make sure you're using strong passwords, alphanumeric, special character. Yep. And don't and another thing too, don't use the same password across all your accounts. Yeah. One thing I will say, and maybe this could be a subject for our next episode to really talk about kind of going away from passwords, but using hardware tokens. I got myself a couple of hardware tokens. I'm getting ready to set up and install, which will kind of get away from having to use passwords.
Can you explain that a little bit more? What a hardware token is for those that
so.
No,
I'll even show you because I have it here, and it's still in the box. I have it set up. So this is a YubiKey.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So very small. So you insert this into the USB drive of your PC, and this one is same brand, but this is for the USB-C.
Okay, like a wireless thingy or something like that. Just a tiny USB.
Right. Yeah. So you could pretty much just leave. For me, I'm just gonna leave it in like a dedicated USB port on my computer, and the same deal for the USB port, the device that I have. So I have a tower and also a separate laptop, and I'll just leave them in there. So if you think about like when you're doing like multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, when you have to when you're using a device to to try to get the code. Yeah. Like you log into your account, and then let's say you're using like an authenticator to get the code in order to log in. Kind of like how I just did try to log into this account right now, and the number of my email. So it keeps it within, as long as it's installed or on your PC, tower, what have you, laptop.
Plugged in.
It's gonna it's gonna generate the code from there to what, so
Mhm.
that way you don't need to use a password. Um, so yeah, and that way, it kind of eliminates the need of, because of course we have a multitude of accounts that we have online and generate passwords, and
Mhm.
there's people get password fatigue where like, oh man, I can't remember all these passwords and this and that, and that will cause people to start slacking a bit on their password, and making sure that they're using strong passwords. um you know where we talk about even reusing some of the same passwords across different accounts,
Yeah.
and that's not good, because let's say someone does break through to one account, they will try to use that same password. Okay, I got through this one, let me try this other one.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, it lets me in that account as well. So that's something you should really try to stay away from. um but yeah, uh maybe maybe we'll do a live, maybe do like a live tutorial on it, and
Mhm.
kind of go over this. But I think this is definitely the way to go, as far as for you want to harden your systems. You could also use it. They also have other variations to where you can use it for your phone,
Mhm.
if it has a NFC, that's near field communication. Um, so whether iPhone or Google, Samsung, as long as they're NFC compatible phones, they should work. And Ubico, they have a really nice chart on their website where it kind of breaks it down. They actually have like a so like if you're really unsure if you need it, or they have like a questionnaire you fill out, and then it'll help kind of guide you as to what you would need for whether your different accounts or devices that you have, which device that Ubico has will best work for you. So yeah, so if you're unsure, they do have a nice I guess mechanism in place to help you make sure you get the right device.
Okay.
um I say Tim responded, say he's used one.
Mm.
Yeah, they're definitely good. I think it's really a great way, like I said, to really harden your systems, harden your accounts that you have. Even for like for your like your Google, your Gmail,
Yeah.
there's an option there where it'll ask you, when it comes to multi-factor authentication, if you have like a hardware key, and then
Mhm.
so in this case, so for me, like I would select that, and then I would pair up my YubiKey with that, and then so whenever I need to log in, it looks for my YubiKey, and I'll be good to go. No need to enter passwords or anything like that. So I think that'd be good. I think that should be a good lesson for the folks to we go over this, and maybe I do like a live install
Yeah.
and show.
This sounds like more of a safer, fail safe type way. I know we've spoken a little bit about more of the AI ways of trying to avoid passwords and stuff through, what is it?
Mhm.
Biometric ways, you
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah.
So side of,
Fingerprint, face
yeah, and
recognition.
that can kind of
Mhm.
lead into like privacy type stuff versus, if if a company is more willing to invest in this type of tool, versus leaning more into the privacy aspect and the personal information of someone when it comes to their face and their body sensitivity type things. So I could see where companies would probably lean more into that if they knew more about products like that versus, because as we know, dealing with a lot of the AI that companies are implementing, there's so many weaknesses to it, especially
Mhm.
as you said, once the password is guessed, you can still go further into it. And a lot of people, they kind of get lax, especially when it comes to the iPhone and things like that, and they will
Oh
repeat
yeah.
passwords and things like that. And kind of like with the article I was saying, where these higher up people didn't even know that the person that's information was hacked. They had his email address, and
Right.
then they went in through his API, and then that's how they got in, and he didn't even notice. So if you had a tool like that, that could have alleviated all that other stuff.
Right.
From the HR perspective.
Yeah. That's why we're here. That's why. So, I think that's it for this episode.
Oh.
I don't know, Dr. Lisa, if you have any last words before we head out.
All right. I'll piggyback off of what I just said. Just it's important to understand. I think it's important for organizations to understand all the different products and tools that are available, and not just kind of be so quick to lean into the new technology that's out there as we're learning, just the basics of just one small simple tool can alleviate a lot of unnecessary drama. I guess. And I think it's also important to, I feel like, since we were speaking on how we felt this had maybe some sort of internal aspect, because we're not shocked. And as we said, child trafficking and all that, it's $1 billion industry and things like that. And not shocked that FBI is dealing with yet another incident. And so I think that it's important for HR professionals, leaders, not just HR professionals, but leaders in general, to be aware and kind of lean more in to understanding the people they work with, and the organizations understanding the people that work for them. I think that's important. And when I say that, I'm not just saying building fake relationships, but truly kind of understanding people's personalities and how they handle situations and things like that. I think that's the key to truly understanding what is needed to prevent cyber attacks, whether internally or externally. But, I think it's just definitely important to understand the people that we work with. I know since the pandemic started, this is something that has been a major issue, and people are leaning away from having relationships and stronger relationships within the workplace. It's so much easier to just go about your day, if you're working from home, versus taking the necessary steps to relate to others. I think that that'll be the biggest asset to understanding what is needed to prevent cyber attacks, whether internally or externally, whether it's based on new technology, different checks and balances that can be implemented, what can be taken away, all that type of information. And I think that's the most important thing that we all can learn. Relationships are necessary to make a better world.
Right. And no, I think that's great. You strike with a great point as far as to have that, that open, honest dialogue, and also those that can make those decisions being receptive to that and really understanding, like, what are the current needs, that, like, how are these implementations working? Are they working? Are they not? Do we need to change some things? Do we need to get whether invest more money? I mean, money is always going to be
Yeah.
I think a thing, but I think being receptive, having that open line of dialogue, and really working towards, if they're really serious about trying to harden, their cybersecurity stature. I think that's one element, is to have that, open, honest line of communication, and really, taking the necessary steps to implement some of those suggestions. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Lisa. This is a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for the show. Thank you. Much love. Appreciate the love, and keep tuning in. We're gonna try to do better. I'm gonna try to do better. Making sure we stay on a good rhythm. But we'll be back. But all right. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank
one. Take it easy.
you. Bye.